Briterion Bollection's back, bitches. Good. Back-to-back episodes, back-to-back days recording. It's episode 6. I'm here with Chris again. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great.
Thanks for joining me again. In honor of Black History Month, we are doing another Wesley Snipes movie. What is it with you and Wesley Snipes? What the hell?
He's a great actor, does great work, great projects.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are we doing next? Passenger 57?
That's a good one.
Demolition Man? We should do Demolition Man sometime. I love that movie.
Was that like Dennis Rodman and Sylvester Stallone?
No, it was Wesley. Wesley and Sylvester.
Wesley Snipes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, you need to watch that ASAP. That's fucking great. That's a masterpiece. Come on, you're such a big Taco Bell fan. You need to watch that movie again to see what big role Taco Bell plays in that film.
I do not endorse the Taco of the Bell.
So, in case you didn't guess, so we're doing New Jack City from 1991. Classic of black cinema. We kind of had a few films rattling around. I was thinking doing American Fiction, but you hadn't seen it, and then when you did see it, you didn't really like it that much. So, decided to go with the tried and true New Jack City, which we reference. You reference a lot for some reason. Kind of comes up a lot. When did you see this? Did you see this in the theater at the time?
I probably did. The movies were. People went to the movies all the time back then. So
yeah,
I saw it several times, and like when it came out on VHS, just like got it several times from the Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And did you also have like those mom and pop video chains around Carlsbad too?
Yeah, there were a few. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
the Video Escape by my house. I worked there a little bit. They had three
nice.
chains, Vista, and Northern California, Southern. I don't know what it's called.
Nice. You're
My
lucky.
neighborhood.
I never got to work at a video store. I wanted to. I think I applied to Blockbuster, but never got hired.
Mhm.
So you're lucky. So
Yeah.
was it like one of those old school places that had like the porn section in the back with like the curtain?
Yeah, that was always very awkward. Just watching them go across. We had ours right by the front desk, so they had to go right by me, and then in there, and if there was any kind of strange noises coming from there, that was concerning.
But they always had like that shower curtain. Like what the hell? What are you guys doing in there?
Yeah, it's no secret what's going on in there, but I guess children wouldn't go in there. They'd be like, "Oh, there's a curtain."
Well, that's the thing. I was a kid at the time, so I would be like, "Why is there a shower curtain over there?" And people were like, "No, I don't know." But yeah, you're lucky. You got to work at the mom and pop VHS with the porn section.
Return a disc, and every time we come in, we'd be very uncomfortable saying, Space Age Sluts or whatever the movie was is still missing, and you owe us $80 for that. So,
wow,
yeah.
Nice. And it was like the big box. Right? It was like this.
Yeah, they're
Costco.
gigantic. 4 times the size of the VHS.
Yeah, why did they make it so big? Just so you couldn't hide it from the
Hey,
family?
they like the artwork, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Now that we've established the porn section of the mom and pop video stores, let's
The Lord's work, just trust.
Yeah, exactly. So you saw it in the theater, I guess. You saw it a few times, and then I was a kid. This was 91. So how old was I?
5.
6 or 7 when it came out. And I think my older brother and sister saw it or something, because I think they had like the soundtrack or something. I remember like hanging around the house and they had the CD, and I was like, "Oh, what's this? I want to see this New Jack City. That's pretty cool." And then eventually I saw it and discovered what a classic it was. Um, so yeah, it's pretty. Watching it again, it's a real like product of its time. It's a real snapshot of that era.
Yeah.
And you might hear my cats in the background meowing at each other. Um, just disregard them. Yeah, like it's a real snapshot, and like when you go into the movies, like the first word you hear, which we say all the time, you see the studio logo, and then you hear you're about to witness the strength of street knowledge, which is from NWA. It's from Straight Outta Compton,
Hmm.
and it's funny because we always say it as like a non sequitur, like like when we take turns playing music at work, and we'll say you're about to witness the strength of street knowledge, and then we press play, and it's Celine Dion or something, like something truly
OG.
gangster. Yeah, exactly. Or Jim Brickman, whoever you play, some
Yanni.
Christian. Yeah, so that's true street knowledge right there,
Yes.
Chris. So it's cool that they kind of just put that in as like it's almost like like a mixtape or something. Like it's not like they use the song in the movie, but just having that little clip of that phrase is pretty cool. And then we cut and we see the intro with the cool skyline of New York. It's pretty cool, and get to see the Twin Towers in
Hmm.
all their glory before they were. And there was like a bombing there in '93 too, right? Not just 9/11 or something. There was like a bombing there in '93, and some terrorists tried to bring it down that time, and so this was even before that. So you really get to see the Twin Towers there, and the music at the beginning. It's pretty cool, has that type of sound that was in at that time, and really like the music, like that's partly, at least like this is how this isn't based on research, this is just me, my perception of it, like the music from the time is partly why the movie's named that way. So like New Jack City, so in the late 80s and early 90s there was this genre of R&B. It was like a subgenre of R&B called New Jack Swing. So basically what that meant, it was like, this is a new type of R&B. It's kind of fusing hip hop a little bit, a little bit more dancey R&B, not like the soul ballads that you had before, It was like just after New Edition, kind of like they were kind of more pop R&B, but then it was like a little more hip hop, dancey type of R&B. And they called that New Jack Swing because it was like, oh, these guys are New Jacks, and basically what New Jack means is like a newbie, like an upstart, basically. So that's why it's called New Jack City, because it's like these New Jacks just took over, and kind of the creator, like the architect of that New Jack Swing sound was this kid, Teddy Riley. And he was just a producer at first, but he basically created that whole sound, and he ended up writing and producing for like Keith Sweat and all these dudes from that time. He worked with pretty much everybody. Um, I think Janet at the time too, even though she was working with the other guys, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. But Teddy Riley, he was doing his thing, and then he did Rex and Effect, Rump Shaker. I know you love that song, Chris. I know you love that. And
Yes.
then he started his own group, Blackstreet, which obviously they did the classic No Diggity, which
No
is
doubt.
also one of your favorites, right?
No diggity. No
Uh,
doubt.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's partly where they kind of took the name from, was from the musical movement. And I encourage people in general to watch Red Bull Music Academy. You can go on YouTube and search Red Bull Music Academy, and there were these lectures that Red Bull, the drink, used to put on. They ended it like in 2019 or something like that. That was like the last year they did it, or 2018. But they did it for like 20 years, and they would just bring in like musicians from all over the world, like people who are. It was like a workshop, but they would also bring in like famous musicians to like lecture to them, basically. And a lot of them are recorded, and they have a really great archive of them on YouTube. And I encourage people to watch as many of those as possible, but also like try to watch the Teddy Riley one because it's really good, and you can learn all about New Jack Swing and how he kind of came up with it. But he was pretty young at the time; he was like a teenager when he came up with that. So I feel like that's kind of where the name comes from. And so we see it says the city 1986. So I think even I thought maybe it was like at that time I thought it was like in '91, but it's actually supposed to be a few years earlier. And we see Nino, so Wesley Snipes is Nino Brown, and his boy, the guy from Do the Right Thing, Radio Raheem. He's like part of his gang, and they're hanging some white dude off his legs from the bridge, Vanilla Ice style. Like you heard that story about Vanilla Ice, right? Um, how like Suge Knight supposedly um, hung him. he, I guess they were trying to get Suge Knight was trying to get money off of Vanilla Ice when Vanilla Ice was huge at the time. So Suge Knight from Death Row Records, him and his boys, and they're all big. They supposedly, I mean, and Vanilla Ice said this. He said this in an interview, like in '95 or '96. He said, "Oh, Suge Knight and some guys from Death Row Records, they like grabbed me. We were in a hotel room, and they just like lifted me up, and they like held him out the window, like upside down." And they're like, "You better sign over your masters, like your master tapes or whatever." And he's like, "Oh my god!" So that's what he claimed. Vanilla Ice claimed that he did that to him. And then a few years later, he like changes his tune for some reason. He said like, "Oh, that never happened," And then people were like, "Well, what the hell? Like, were you on crack when you said that? Like, were you on Nino Brown's crack when you said that in that first interview, or what?" So that's basically when they say Vanilla Ice style. It's like hanging a white dude upside down outside outside a bridge or a hotel window.
So
You
that's
never
what you
got
write in the screenplay. You're right, Vanilla Ice style,
yeah.
hanging over a balcony.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
Have you ever been hung over Vanilla Ice style, Chris?
try to avoid that as much as possible.
Okay. You look like the type of dude that people would want to do that to, but luckily, luckily you've avoided that. Good for you. Yeah, and then they let his ass go. They let the white dude go. He falls into the water, and we can assume that he died. But that's the tone. We know that these guys are badass dudes. They're willing to do whatever it takes, kill people, rob, you know, do whatever to.
Don't fuck with Nino. Don't fuck with him.
Yeah,
Vanilla
exactly.
Ice off the bridge.
Yeah, there you go. You'll get Vanilla Iced. Um, and we see Ice T. So Ice T, his first acting gig. He's doing a drug deal with Chris Rock. He's like trying to get some rock off of Chris Rock, and and it was Ice T's first movie. I guess Mario Van Peebles, who directed this, he was a fan of his music and was like, "Oh, I need this guy's energy in my movie." And I think Ice T didn't want to do it really, and he thought, "I'm playing a cop." I just had a song called "Cop Killer." Like, why the hell am I going to play a cop now? You know what I'm saying? Um, but I guess at the last minute, I guess Mario Van Peebles convinced him to do it. And Ice T was like, "That's one of the best decisions I've ever made," because that really launched his acting career. And being on Law and Order SUV for 50 years, it all started here. And you can see, like, his acting isn't great in this, but he got better over time. You can see, like, where he's like kind of heavy-handed, like he's like looking like like, and it's like kind of cheesy, but he got better. It was his first try. So yeah, Ice T's doing the drug deal with Chris Rock, and Chris Rock plays a good crackhead. What can I say? He's he's really good at it. And Ice T kind of reveals he's a cop, or Chris Rock kind of figures out that he's a cop, and Chris Rock gets scared and he runs off on his bike, and it's a nice little bike chase scene. Really, you're used to seeing car chase scenes, but this is a random bike downstairs and a guy running after you scene. So that's pretty original. And I guess they wanted to do a car chase scene, but they just like didn't have the budget at the time. I think that they shot that near the end, and they kind of ran out of money at that time. So they're like, okay, no car chase scene. We're gonna do bike foot chase scene.
Down a staircase.
Yeah, exactly. But it was original.
Crack in the background.
Yeah, exactly. It was original, though. I got to give him credit for that. And then we see the light skinned dude from Jason's Lyric. He's G Money. That's Wesley Snipes, Nino's best friend in the movie. and we see that he's pretty good at basketball, and he's at the court, and they're kind of betting if he can make the shot or not, and he busts a three, Curry style, and it goes right in, and his little like how his leaves his hands just kind of up there. It's pretty cool. I remember on the court, on the basketball court after that, all the dudes were always like this, and all of a sudden, doing the little Q dog hands up. I would see that all the time at that time. But it's cool. I love the fashion. You can see in the scene. I love the Kangol hats. Very much like Eric B. and Rakim. If you look at the cover art from their albums, Paid in Full, it looks just like that. So I love seeing that. And Nino talks to G Money after that, and he's like, "What the fuck, man? You're just living your Michael Jordan fantasy. Like you need to be working. You need to be getting people hooked on this crack. And it's funny that he mentions Jordan. This movie came out in March '91, and Jordan hadn't won a championship yet. And yet Nino mentions Michael Jordan, and that was supposed to be in '86. So that was like really when Michael Jordan, like his first, his first couple years, and they're using his name like he's the greatest player. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you need more proof that Jordan was the greatest, this is it. You can look at this. 2 years in, they're already claiming him as like the standard of basketball. So there's a new drug that hits the streets, and it's kind of like a more intense form of crack, basically. And they're kind of driving in the Jeep, kind of going over it, like, we need to start selling this shit, and this is gonna make us, maybe billionaires possibly off this, So, and it's kind of cool. We see the shots of them riding in the Jeep, and the Jeep was like all the rage at the time, especially like in hip hop. Everybody wanted to bump the hip hop in the Jeep, but it's like cool shots of the city, like nowadays they would shoot that like on a set, or it would be shot like in Canada, what I'm saying? Like it wouldn't have the real, New York life that you get to see in the film, which is really cool. Or it would be all CGI, it would be all fake now, what I'm saying? Which is lame. And then we see that they're at a club, and you see your boy Flavor Flav there. And
That was awesome.
Yeah, Fab Five Freddy, they're hanging out. I know you're a big Public Enemy guy, right? Did you ever get to see them live at all?
I never had the opportunity, unfortunately.
No,
Someday.
no. Yeah, maybe you still can cross them off your bucket list sometime. And this, you see like the club and all the dudes are dancing, and this is when like rappers danced a lot. You know what I'm saying? That kind of went away a little bit after that, in the mid '90s, kind of, well, early to mid '90s, that the hip hop dancing went away. Like when Heavy D kind of faded away, that's when a lot of the dancing faded away too. I know you do a mean Running Man, right?
The bartender in that scene is actually doing the Running Man. It's pretty cool in the
Yeah.
background. I was like, wow, even the bartender is busting a move over the back, and he's not even the main frame. He's off on the side. I was like, I can do that move. That's my move.
Yeah.
But it was tight.
Yeah.
Always make some drinks too.
Yeah, that's
amazing
talent
skill.
right there.
Yes.
They should have did a version of Cocktail with that guy while he's like Running Man. He's doing dances.
Drinks flying everywhere.
Yeah, it's a very different movie. Yeah, it's a very different movie than the Tom Cruise one. Then we see kind of Nino in business mode, and some computer programmer guy, and this other light-skinned chick played by Michael Michelle is her name, which I always thought was weird that her name was Michael. She was the first girl I ever heard of named Michael. And they're both like light-skinned, bougie black people. I guess that's how Snipes and Co would look at it. They're kind of like, why the hell is a computer programmer guy want to start dealing drugs? And he's like, just math. It's simple mathematics. As Mos Def said. But he can make more money doing the drug thing than the computer programmer thing, so he wants to get into that business. And, Snipes tells him, okay, we plan on taking over the Carter. Not the Lil Wayne album, but it's like this apartment complex. I guess it's kind of like a more, kind of middle classy apartment complex. And they're kind of like, we need to take it over, just get everybody hooked on this damn new crack, basically. So that's their plot. And, and then I guess the guy who kind of runs that place is some Jamaican dude. So they're like, okay, we need to take over this Jamaican dude shit. So they go and we see the Jamaican dude, and he's kind of like, what's going on? They drive up to him, and this chick, Vanessa Williams, not that Vanessa Williams, this other chick named Vanessa Williams, she just blows the Jamaican guy's head off, and she has the iconic line that "Rockabye, baby," like that's like become iconic. Like a lot of rappers have mentioned that over the years, and like Joey Badass had a song with that, kind of based all around that. And, this Vanessa Williams, I mean, she was a cool actress. I actually think she was on. I remember she was on Melrose Place. She was like on the first season of Melrose Place. She was like the token black chick on the show.
Aged out really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It was like that first season. Then, yeah, but I thought she was cool, and I think over time she changed her name to like Vanessa L. Williams or something like that, just to differentiate from Vanessa Williams, the Miss America / Eraser fame, which is a great movie she did with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, but like her accent is like kind of heavy-handed. Her acting's a little over the top. She's almost like a black Harley Quinn kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like her accent. The hey boss, what's up, boss? What you doing? Is very over the top. Maybe she can be in the next Joker movie. They could do a racial change, on the Harley Quinn. Folie à trois. Joker folie à trois. Menage a trois. It's an idea. Then we see these guys harmonizing kind of on the streets, like a doo-wop-ish R&B group, and this cool little montage, and then we kind of see the good guys now. We see the cops in their environment. We see Mario Van Peebles. We see Russell Wong, Chinese dude. And it's funny, them together, it's almost like a pre-Rush Hour, like black Chinese combo, like that we would see years later to probably better effect with Jackie and Chris. And he tells, the police chief, he's like, hey, I need New Jack cops to take down New Jack gangsters, like that's what he says. Like he can't just do it with these old fat donut eating white cops, you know what I'm saying? Like he needs New Jack cops. So he's like, all right, I'll let you do your thing. The police chief was like, okay, if you fuck up, this is your bad, and so he almost does kind of like a 21 Jump Street kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I need like, young dudes who can kind of be undercover and, won't get caught, who can speak the lingo, who are from the streets, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like kind of 21 Jump Street. They want young guys who don't look like cops, you know what I'm saying? They don't have the 70s porn stashes that these guys had, like the Beastie Boys Sabotage video, and they're cops and these like porn stashes. Like, no, we don't need that. So we see Ice-T again, and Ice-T, he has like these dreads or like braids. I don't know. It's like they're not thick enough to be dreads, but they're like thicker than braids. I'm not really sure how to describe his hair there, but he kind of reminds me of that Freedom Williams guy from CNC Music Factory in this. When I'm looking at him, I felt like he was going to rap like, I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt on the dance floor. Everybody over here, everybody over here. Like, yeah,
Maybe you should cover that song. Maybe you should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He looks a lot like him, yeah, and what's his name? Okay, so and then we also see Judd Nelson, which was a shock, right? I mean, we were used to him in the fucking Brat Pack, dude. St. Elmo's, Breakfast Club, and then now, he's in this like hood movie, quote unquote. Like, it's like, where the hell did that come from? But I think he was trying to change his image. All those guys, like if you saw the Andrew McCarthy documentary, which a lot of people hated that he did last year, the Brad Pack. They were trying to shed that Brad Pack image. So I think Nelson was definitely trying to do that. So he's like, okay, I'll be in this black movie. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but I remember seeing an interview with Ice-T, and Ice-T really liked him. He's like, oh, he came to the set and he was cool. Like, he wasn't trying to be black. Like, he just came to the set like, what's up? Like, and Ice-T was like, yeah. He's like, because he was just a normal cool guy. That's what Ice-T was saying. He wasn't like Carson Dalying it. You know what I'm saying? Like Carson Daly, he was like the whitest dude ever, but then he'd have the rappers on his show and be like, "Yo, dog, what up, son?" like,
Dab me up.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, Ice-T was basically saying that Judd Nelson wasn't doing that. He was just being a normal white dude. Not wasn't tripping or anything.
With hundreds of African American actors all around him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Just
and
acting.
yeah,
Trying to fit in, I
yeah,
guess, or
yeah, yeah.
act
He wasn't.
weird.
Yeah, like I said, he wasn't Carson Dalying it. Um, I swear you can see montages. They even made fun of it after a while, like on TRL. Like, he would be talking all normal white, and then like Ja Rule was on, "Yo, dog, what's up?" It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, but Judd Nelson, you know, uh, obviously he didn't. I don't think he had as great of a career as we thought he would. Considering he did these great, John Hughes movies. And then he just ended up doing weird crap. Like a few years ago, he did this Lifetime movie, Girl in the Basement or whatever, and it almost seemed like a documentary. It was like, like he had some girl tied up in the basement and he raped her, like, and he had like 50 kids with her, but it was like
What?
yeah, but it was like his granddaughter or something.
That's a
It's
Lifetime movie?
yeah, it was a Lifetime movie. Yeah, I mean, I think it's on Hulu. If you check, I saw it on Hulu. It's disturbing, but pretty damn interesting too. And and Nelson is just nightmarish. He's really scary. Um, yeah, and I never got his fashion sense either. Like I think they did. I remember they did like a John Hughes. After John Hughes passed, they did like a something at the Oscars, like a Brat Pack retrospective. So they invited like Molly Ringwald and you know Anthony
Cute.
Michael Hall, and then they're dressed normally. It's the Oscars, and then all of a sudden Judd Nelson, he's like in a zoot suit or something. I was like, what the hell is he wearing? He had like all these chains and shit, like some pinstriped and some. It was just you can YouTube it. I was like, what the hell is he wearing? Um, and on the side note, I always thought he was Mexican for whatever reason. Like, like he just had this weird look to him, and I was like, where the hell is this guy from? But yeah, Judd Nelson enters the picture, and we see Nino and his boys passing out food to the community, trying to look like he's a good guy, and the cops are kind of staking him out, like, what the hell's this guy up to, and in the midst of that, Ice-T finds Chris Rock, who plays Pookie. He was chasing him on the bike earlier in the film, and he's telling him like, "Hey, man, like you need to lay off the rock, man. You need to lay off the pipe." And like I said, Chris Rock, he does a good job playing a crackhead. He's like, that shit be calling me, man, be calling me. Like he does a really good job of that. Like you feel for him, you feel sorry for him that he just can't get rid of it.
Right.
Um, and so Ice-T basically takes Pookie to CAA, not the agency, but Crack Addicts Anonymous, basically. You know what I'm saying? And you know, he tries to get him some help, basically. And we see him. We see like stories of other addicts, and Chris is there, just kind of sad and getting withdrawal. Suffering from withdrawal. He's sweating at night. And then he kind of explains like, oh, because I guess he was working with Nino at one point. He was like a stick-up kid or whatever, but he almost got shot or whatever. So, but he's like, oh, let me break. He's like, he knows his enterprise basically. So he's like, it's like a legit pharmaceutical company. Like you go in and you have to scan your ID, and you work naked, in the lab and stuff like that, And they're like, shit, like wow, like that really is. They didn't think it was that legit. Um, and it's kind of funny because while he's like reciting this, you see some white guy walk in, show and scan his ID in the pharmacy, and the guy looks just like Kurt Cobain,
Oh,
which is weird because like why would they show a white guy for this? You know what I'm saying? But I guess just to show how these drugs spread out, so much.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember seeing that? There's a guy. He's wearing like red flannel, and he has this long blonde hair and like kind of scruffy, goatee. I was like, dude, it's funny that he looked just like Kurt Cobain. And this is before Nevermind came out, so nobody would have really known Kurt Cobain at that point. So it's like a weird little prophecy, that this guy, you know, they have this Kurt Cobain lookalike months, so this movie came out March '91. Nevermind came out September '91. So this is like, way, I don't think, I'm sure Mario Van Peebles wasn't a fan of Bleach, the Bleach album from Nirvana.
Hmm.
But I guess you never know. So I just thought that was interesting. And, I kind of like these guitar licks. Like we see, Pookie, in the Crack Addicts Anonymous, and he's with suffering withdrawal. We hear these like
Hmm.
guitar riff licks. It's kind of Pink Floydish, kind of Dave Gilmore-y, I like that. Kind of funky little licks there. And then Ice-T, he's trying to encourage Pookie, so he's like working out with him. He's doing a little Karate
Running and
Kid.
stuff, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Doing a little Karate Kid, running at sunset, little Rocky 4-ish kind of, scenery. It's kind of funny. Um,
He
and
wanted it because he lost his mom was killed by a drug dealer. I think
yeah, yeah,
so like
exactly.
I can help this kid to come back from this and recover. And, like it
Yeah,
was his chance to redeem himself or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. He looked at it like, that I need to help out. I'm a cop, and I guess I want to do good. And my mom died at
Yeah,
the
he shot
hands
him in
of.
the freaking ankle or something with a
Yeah.
gun. I think that was a little over the top. Like,
Hey, sometimes you gotta scare them straight. Sometimes
he owed him one.
sometimes it takes gun usage to do that. Yeah, so yeah, he works out with him, and Pookie was like, "Hey, I want to help you guys take down Nino. Like, I know how it is. I want to help you guys. And it's funny how he says, they light that glass dick. Like, that's funny.
A lot of glass dick references in the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice
exactly.
metaphor.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because you're
This,
being a bitch when you smoke from a glass pipe. I guess.
yeah,
I don't know. Is it-
or you're just so addicted to it.
Yeah, can't get enough.
Yeah. And then we kind of see Nino is with Michael Michelle now. She kind of transitioned. I guess she was with the computer programmer guy at first, and then she kind of transitioned to Nino. And,
Mhm.
I guess it's showing that Nino can get whatever chicks he wants. And she wants to be with the head dude in charge. Um, and it's cool how I love the suits that these guys rock. Once again, the fashion. They had some cool suits going on. The all red suit that Nino has, just like
Now, was that like a thing back then? I don't remember like everybody wearing like solid red and solid green and solid yellow, solid
well,
black.
I think it's was more common in the African American community.
I like the black. The black looked nice. The black.
Yeah, yeah, he's wearing like, and he's wearing those baggy ass pants too. Like like I'm not quite MC Hammer, not like parachute pants, but just like hella baggy. Like he walks and it's like a curtain. Like, what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's like wow. Yeah, that was a very interesting fashion. And we see
Very
them watching
flowy.
Scarf. Oh, very billowy.
Very flowy.
Very flowy. Yeah, exactly.
He's like a ghost.
Yeah. Well, maybe that was the metaphor. So we see them watching Scarface. He's, they're having a movie time, and they're all kind of all hanging out, Nino and his crew and some girls, and Michelle gets pissed off because she found out like Nino told them that she's like infertile or something. Like, is that what happened there?
Um, I think somehow it came up in the conversation that
Right.
she couldn't have babies, and it
Yeah.
was, it was a
Yeah.
private thing. It was not
Yeah.
meant to
Yeah.
be aired.
Yeah, so she's pissed off about that. Like the Vanessa Williams character said something like, "Oh, like you just pissed off because you can't have babies or whatever," and she's like, "Fuck you," So all hell kind of breaks loose there.
Yeah.
She's pissed off at him, and so she runs out, and Nino's just there with the other chicks. He's like, "Oh well, I got other chicks," and you hear the "Color Me Bad, I Want to Sex You Up" in the background. Classic song.
Hmm.
I'm a big Color Me Bad fan, so it's nice to that they had them captured in the film.
I didn't know
I
that.
really,
What's your
I
second
mean,
favorite track from Color Me Bad? Tell us all.
I adore Mia Moore. I mean, to me,
Oh
that's
yeah,
my
that's a pretty good
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Okay, so
that's
two
great.
good songs.
Come on, come on. They're that was a good album, the first album.
Yeah, it was classic.
Dream on, dream away. That's just classic right there. I mean, I still listen to that to this day. And it's funny because I remember maybe like the next year, I guess. Yeah, I guess it was probably like 92. It was my sister's like 15th or 16th birthday. My mom got her a 5 disc CD changer,
Wow,
and that was like $500 at the time. You know what
that's
I'm saying?
ballin'.
It was hella expensive, but I guess she really wanted it, so she gave it to her for her birthday, and she gave her a stack of CDs too. And I remember some of those CDs. One of them was Prince Diamonds and Pearls, which is great. And then one of them was Color Me Bad, the I Want to Sex You Up album. And so that was like really major at that time. It was like, they're really big. They fell off very much quickly after that, but, they were cool at the time. So they decided to send in Pookie to kind of work undercover and work undercover for the cops into Nino's enterprise, to see what they could
What
find
could
out. And
possibly go wrong with that idea?
yeah,
Then a
exactly.
drug addict who just recovered from crack back
Yeah.
into the nest. Brilliant idea, guys. Brilliant ideas.
Yeah, they didn't really they didn't have a high basketball IQ, these guys. You know what I'm saying?
That was their go-to plan. Bring the
Yeah.
drug addict in. He'll get in there and infiltrate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is what it is. And I guess that's why these guys are new jack cops, not veteran cops. I don't think veteran cops would have done that, but these guys are new jacks, so they make mistakes.
Well, Judd, I think didn't Judd say like we shouldn't do this or something to him? This is like a bad
Yeah, he kind
idea.
of pushed back a little bit, you
But Pookie
know.
was just he really wanted to do this. He wanted
Yeah,
to do a solid for Ice-T because of
yeah, because
how
of
he
his
did for
rehabbing.
him.
Yeah,
Slept with him in bed while he was recovering. It was
yeah, yeah. He wanted to pay it forward to the
yes,
cops.
exactly.
Yeah,
Wanted to
and
get
so
back at him. This guy who created this drug addiction in him, and
right,
yeah,
exactly. So and there's like a nice little shot like of the hidden cam. You can see like it's like a hidden camera, and you can see the little nice little black and white. It's a pretty cool shot. The fact that they have that. And it's after that they kind of reconvene on the beach, and for some reason Van Peebles has like his baby on the beach or something, and they're having an argument. And he's like holding his baby. Like, I didn't know what that was about, but they're kind of like, this isn't working, and they're like, oh, we have to keep going with it. Like, they're kind of conflicted. Like, Ice-T wants to keep doing it, but the other guys don't. And
hmm
but then we see Rock can't hold off the Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, his descent back into that, and I know that's your favorite shot, that you always reference that shot where
classic.
he's crying and he's lighting up and he's, you know,
He's
I
so
know you love it.
conflicted. He doesn't want to do it, but he can't stop himself. It's just too dang good, and he's crying. He's got the American flag shirt on, and he's all
Yeah,
sweaty in the dark in the
yeah,
corner. That's a
yeah,
classic. Classic.
Yeah, classic shot.
Yes, there you go. Shot. That's the word.
Right, and then
Technical
him
term.
and him having that flag shirt. It's a nice little, irony, metaphor, the whole thing,
Dogs are
And they even,
destroying America.
yeah, exactly. Ronald Reagan would be proud. So, and they do even do a nice little Hitchcock zoom while he smokes one. They do this Hitchcock zoom where, so the thing with the Hitchcock zoom is like, it's like zooming in, but it's like weirdly zooming in. So like how they do that is like, the lens zooms in, but the camera, the tracking goes backwards. So that's almost like a cycle thing. So that's why it gives it this weird zoom. They're trying to be kind of trippy about it. So it's cool that Van Peebles threw that in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then so the cops like raid the lab. They're like, okay, like let's take this shit down, and so Nino's crew finds out like Jason Lyric, light skinned dude is there, and he's like, oh shit, and they have to basically burn it down. They're like, okay, let's burn this shit down. So they kind of burn down the Carter, and they set a bomb on Chris Rock, and they kind of shoot out all the other dudes, and Jason Lyric guy gets away, but we see that cliche scene, the bomb defusing scene. We saw it in Rush Hour. We've seen it in a million movies. Like, do you pull the red wire or the blue wire? Like, who the hell started that? Anyways, like
I don't know. It's probably
I
like a
was,
Mission Impossible or something.
yeah,
Like
I was thinking that too. Yeah, I feel like Mission Impossible probably started it in one of their episodes, and then like movies just took it after that. So while all that's going on, Nino is getting it on with some chick,
wrong
as he
chick.
should be.
The Uniqua.
Yeah,
The sexy seductress. What is she? Seductress with
yeah,
who's actually supposed to be with G Money, right? Supposed to
yeah.
be his
That's G
gal.
Money's girl. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not the. I don't know what the other girl. Selena was that his wife or just his girl Nino's
Yeah, I
girlfriend?
think it was just his girlfriend,
Yeah.
at the time. But like, yeah, like he calls him up, in the aftermath of this, and she answers, and he's like, "Oh, like I knew you'd be there." He's like, "I should have treated you like the hoe you are," whatever. Um, yeah, like the $2 hooker that you are, whatever, something like that. And she's like, "It's for you." And so she passes the phone to Nino, and he tells him, "Hey, we had to shut down the Carter." And he's like, "What?" And Nino is pissed. He's pissed, as you would say. He's wondering how the hell that happened, and they have a emergency meeting basically like the next day, and it's like a round table with all his crew. Jason Lyric guy is there, Radio Raheem is there, computer programmer guy is there.
The dumb man is there.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
stutterer.
yeah. Radio Raheem. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's him. Okay.
Well,
Not
I
the
mean,
name of the
I
face.
call him that because he played Radio Raheem in Spike Lee in Do the Right Thing. That's why. Yeah, he's pissed, and we see him, and he has like that knife, and something's gonna go down. He's like, who's he gonna get with this?
He's walking around with it, real menacing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's like, twirling it around the room, and there's a great line where G Money, Jason's lyric, says, he tries to, make excuses, and Snipes is like, sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
Love that.
Nice line, yeah. And then he just gets so pissed off that he just stabs computer programmer guy in the hand, and there's like a quick shot that you can see it's fake as hell, like it looks like just spongy, like a brown sponge, but
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, I'd rather have it be fake like that than just total CGI. That's just whack. You know
I
what I'm
never
saying?
liked you anyway.
Yeah,
What is that?
exactly. He's like, I never liked your pretty ass anyway. Here, there. Like he kind of looks like I'll Be Sure. That's what I'm saying. Like R&B is all over this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'll Be Sure, Night and Day. If you don't know that song, listen to that song. That song's a shit. Watch the video on YouTube. I'll Be Sure, Night and Day. That guy looks a lot like him. And I guess that was like a thing in the 80s. It was like, from what I've seen, what I've heard, there was like in the black community there was like a light skin, dark skin kind of war going on, you know. So I guess Snipes being dark,
Uh,
like the light skin were considered more pretty, So that's why he says, "I never liked your pretty ass anyway." Yeah, it was part of the color war there, and we see, it's cool. The guys in that scene, once again, the fashion sense, they look like Rhythm Nation meets Prince's Crew when he did Cream, when he did
right.
that album, meets like MC Hammer's Entourage. Like, there's there's a nice little look that these guys have, and we see like Jason's Lyric looking through the aquarium. Like that's a really cool shot. Like I love aquarium shots. Like every movie should have an aquarium in it, and and no lighting, just lit up by the aquarium light. Like when I make a film, I'm gonna throw that in, even if it makes no freaking sense. I'm just gonna throw that in. Yeah, but those shots, it reminds me of this movie, Bright Future. It's a Japanese movie where they're looking at this aquarium. It's really cool. It's kind of underground. It's not very well known. It has Tadanobu Asano, who's one of my favorite actors, and now he's blowing up with Shogun. He's in the new Shogun. He won the Golden Globe
Hmm.
a few months ago, but he's in that movie, Bright Future. If you can find it anywhere, it's pretty hard to find. Try your best to find it. Good luck with that. It's a really cool movie. So, I mean, was Pookie already dead when they put the bomb on him, or what?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he was dead.
Okay.
It looked like he'd been cut up like several times.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they actually put the bomb into his chest or whatever and tied it down.
Oh, okay. I
I
see.
don't know. It
Okay.
looked
Yeah.
like it was inside of him a little bit, like he was the
Yeah.
Tin Man or something.
Okay.
Or C-3PO. He had things sticking out
Like
of his chest.
his rib cage was like kind of like holding it or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't
That
know.
was pretty gruesome.
Yeah, it was
Um.
pretty sad.
Yeah.
I cried
So.
several times.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you did. So the cops are at Pookie's funeral. It's not much of a funeral. They're just kind of standing around, and they're like, "Bye, Pookie." He just throws a flower like, "Bye, Pookie."
Yeah. No
And
family or anything there really. I think it was just the
yeah,
cops
just the cops. Yeah,
and a priest.
yeah, it's pretty sad. And Van Peebles basically says they need to end this operation because they used a shitload of resources and Washington is on their ass and a lot of cops got killed. So they're like, okay, we need to just end this ASAP. Even though Ice-T is like, no, like I don't want to end this, and then randomly, I guess Nelson and Ice-T are having a conversation together, and Nelson reveals that he was a crackhead before. He was like, "I was Pookie," and Ice-T's like, "What? like you were Pookie? Like hello?" And I guess he was a crackhead at one point and somehow got straight. So they're like, "Okay, we need to come up with a new tactic here." So the cops go to the Italian friend of Nino, like kind of Italian guy that he works with, and they're like, they pull guns on him and say, "Okay, you got to help our asses, or we're gonna kill your ass." And so he's like, "Okay, well, okay, I guess I have to help you." So Italian dude, he sets Ice-T up with Jason's Lyric guy, G Money, and they try to have him infiltrate the crew again. And if I was Nino, I'd be like, "Dude, I don't trust any of you motherfuckers. Like, you think I'm just gonna let some random dude in my crew? No,
He
like,
just lost the Carter. Why would you
yeah,
let an outsider in again?
yeah,
It's
exactly. Just
stupid.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, and then storytelling wise, I guess they figured that we wouldn't buy that either. So Ice-T really has to earn his trust. He really has to earn Nino's trust. And we see Nino giving money to some neighborhood kids, and this old guy who was in the movie Air Bud, and he's been in other movies, but I know he was in Air Bud. He tries to step up to Nino, and he's like, "Hey, like we need get your ass out of here." The old guy can see how he's really destroying the community with drugs, and Ice-T kicks him out. He kicks the old man basically away, and that earns Nino's trust just by kicking that old man. You
Oh,
know?
he pulled a gun on him, didn't he? He like
Uh,
was gonna shoot him.
yeah,
Yeah,
basically,
like
yeah.
so. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess, I guess Nino was like, oh, if he's willing to pull a gun on this old guy, okay, I guess I can trust him.
Yep.
He earns his trust relatively quickly, but even then, I guess that wasn't enough because I think he does something else for him too, right after that too. I think he um, kicks some other guy's ass or something like that.
Bought him some
when
wine coolers and
bought some Bartles and
Slim
James.
Jims.
And he's like, I like this guy. I like your style. Yeah, he earns his trust pretty quickly, and then we see Ice-T and Snipes are chilling in the pool together, like some hot Asian chicks there. And it's funny, like you knew that Snipes wasn't gonna be just banging black chicks like in the movie. Like he'd like, he'd be dipping his thing in other resources. um,
All around the world.
yeah, and Snipes. I've said it before on a Rush Hour podcast. He's a real Asian file. Like he's really into karate. He's really into Chinese food and all kinds of crap. So that chick who was in that scene with him was probably his girlfriend at the time. Honestly, like he always has to cram some Asian shit into all of his movies. So that's like a thing for him. He's like you. He really likes Asian chicks. Um, he's very similar to you in that regard, Chris.
That one aspect.
Yeah. So they're
Everything else
chilling.
is the opposite.
Yeah. So they're chilling in the pool, having Bartles and James, Asian chicks naked, and life is good, basically, with Nino and Ice-T. And we cut to, I guess, this pastor's daughter is getting married. And Nino is paying for the wedding. And we see Judd Nelson snooping around Nino's place, basically, kind of doing some reconnaissance. And so for the wedding, for the reception, they actually have Keith Sweat singing at the reception. I mean, it doesn't get more New Jack Swing than that. I'm telling you, like that's the whole thing that this is built on. This whole movie is built on R&B, late '80s R&B. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny how he's singing, and these girls are acting like it's Beatlemania for Keith Sweat. You know what I'm saying? They're like, ooh, like, Keith Sweat. Even the Puerto Rican girls like freaking out for Keith Sweat. Like, it's pretty cool that they got him though. Because Keith Sweat, I mean, the song he did, "I Want Her," I wanna, that Teddy Riley produced that. He's the architect of New Jack Swing, and that song is like a textbook New Jack Swing song. Like if you look up Encyclopedia Britannica and New Jack Swing, they're gonna have a picture of Keith Sweat there. I want it. So the reception ends, and then there's like some Italian dudes like picking up chairs and shit like that from the wedding, kind of cleaning up, and then all of a sudden these Italian dudes bust out some guns and just start shooting the place up, and they shoot mad rounds. They shoot like 50,000 rounds in a minute of shooting, and sorry, Nino, like some guy gets shot and killed. A few, like they don't kill as many considering how many shots they shoot. They shot like 1,000,000 shots in that scene. They killed like one guy. Like, it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
But Nino, he picks up a little girl to kind of use her as like a human shield. You know what I'm saying? Like he grabs her, he's like, oh, kill her. So I guess it just shows you how crazy it is. Oh, and I guess they do kill Rockabye Baby. They kill Vanessa L. Williams too in that. Sadly,
She rushes out like guns ablazing, like she's
Yeah.
gonna take them all.
Yeah.
Runs right into all the bullets and gets shot probably 50 times.
Yeah.
But amazingly, the child that he's holding up doesn't get one bullet.
Yeah.
In her.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how that's possible, but Rockabye Baby dies there.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. So Nino and his boys are PIAs now, so they're like, we need to kill some random Italians or whatever. So like they just pull up on some random like Italian cafe and they just start like busting caps on some Italian dudes there, basically. Yeah, I don't even know if those guys were involved. They were just like, I'm killing any first Italian guy I see.
No, I think he got back at the what was it, Frankie's band?
Okay.
Or maybe it was Frankie's restaurant. I don't know.
Okay.
Somehow
Yeah.
it was like his hood
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I just thought it was funnier if it was just random Italian guys. um, the cops, it's kind of the final act. The cops raid Nino's compound. Um, we see Judd Nelson. He kills Radio Raheem there. Um, Nino shoots his own boy. He shoots G Money. He shoots Jason's lyrics. Um, and Well, before we get to that part, there's a part where Nino and Ice T are chilling. After he's earned his trust, Nino and Ice T are chilling on the roof, and we see like the cityscape. They're kind of looking it over, and it's funny because the lights, how they flare in the background, it reminds you of Heat. Like people make this big deal out of Heat, Michael Mann, where we see Al Pacino like walking in, and the lights behind him keep like flaring and getting bigger. This kind of is a precursor to that a little bit. We see Nino talking to Ice T, and Nino kind of says, "Oh, my first thing I did was." There was some lady. She must have been a school teacher or something. Pulled up on her. Had to shoot her down and take her money. And Ice T was like, "Oh, but it was just business, right? Like not personal." And he's like, "Oh, it's never personal. Like everything's business." Or whatever. He kind of reveals that. So back to them raiding the compound. We see them, they're all kind of getting action, and Nino was like, he's that much of a badass that he's gonna kill his second in command, basically, and they really keep pushing this brother's keeper thing, like, like, I'm my brother's keeper, kind of Cain and Abel type of thing, what does that mean to you? I know you're kind of quasi religious, like, like what does the whole brother's keeper thing?
Maybe that he killed his brother and then said, "I'm my brother's keeper to God." Is taking a
But
stab at it here. Yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely a biblical reference. Yeah, it's definitely a weird thing for them to have as a mantra because it's like
yeah,
Abel died. Abel was killed by Cain, so you wouldn't want somebody to be your brother's keeper if they're gonna end up killing
yeah,
you, right?
yeah, exactly.
But that
I
was
like what you did there. I'll take a stab at it.
I think it was several
uh,
stabs.
yeah, I'll take some. Um, yeah, and so and then they start beating the shit out of Nino. They're just like railing on him, all the cops and especially Ice T. And then Ice T, he reveals that the teacher he was talking about was his mother. It's a nice little reveal there, I'm sure the crowd was like when they saw that in '91, and he has the gun up to him, he's like about to bust it in his face, and all of a sudden we see this creepy Judd Nelson come out of nowhere. Like, and what kind of glove was he wearing? He was wearing some weird glove, and there's something kind of really creepy about how he just kind of. He was like Joe Biden pulling up on smelling some chick's hair, like he just creeps in and he like gently takes the gun. And it's just really weird. He's wearing some weird ass gloves that have like rhinestones on them or some shit. I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't get Judd Nelson's fashion at all. Just something really weird about that. And Nino is kind of saved and saved from dying at that point, and the cops arrest him, and everyone in the like neighborhood and his people around him were, Michael Michelle is like, I'll testify, I'll testify. Um, and they're quick to jump on the cop side. I think they're trying to save their own asses, really.
yeah.
So they're all willing to testify against Nino. And this must be like the quickest trial in history, like that goes to trial. Like this is hella fast. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't know if they're just skipping a lot of time. It just feels like hella fast. Like the trial's like the next day after he gets arrested or something like that. It just feels really bad. And they're all testifying against Nino, and Nino, he tries to blame everything on the computer programmer guy at the trial. The I'll be sure guy. Um, and it's funny. I like how all of Nino's lawyers are white. He was like, he's like, I need all white lawyers for this.
There's a
You
lot of
know,
demonization of white people in this movie, let me tell you.
yeah,
The
yeah. I'm
worst thing
sure.
you do, make them lawyers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I don't even think they're Jewish. I think they're just like straight up white lawyers. It's kind of funny. But his lawyers did a good job. They got him a sweet plea deal. You know, 3 years to life with parole in 12 months. That's nothing for what he's done.
Hmm.
So he got a sweet ass deal on that. And we see them walking out of the court, and Nino's like boasting, he's like, the system works, motherfucker. He's really boasting, and Ice-T's like, I should have killed your ass and I had a chance, and the cops are kind of looking at him like all pissed off. We see him walking out all, proudly, and then all of a sudden you hear a gunshot go off, and then you see Nino is hit, and he's bleeding, and you see him slowly fall off the stairs, into this,
That was nice.
vertigo type of thing. Yeah, it's a great shot. It's
Yeah.
beautifully shot. It's almost Hitchcockian, that part, like vertigo esque. And we see him fall down, and we find out it's the old man from Airbud. Um, you know, he's the guy who shot him. And it's almost like a cliche, kind of, like you've seen other movies where it's like the guy who had like he was earlier in the movie had some vendetta, so he's the guy who shoots him at the end. Like I
Mhm.
remember seeing it in the movie I Care a Lot, with Rosamund Pike, where spoiler alert, this guy from earlier in the movie, his mom is being taken care of by her, and he's pissed off about it, and she robs all these old people that she takes care of, and at the end of the movie she's all successful and shit, and then you hear some gunshot go off, and then the camera pans, and it's that guy, like the guy from earlier. I'm sure there's other movies where it's done that. Just can't really think of any other ones at this time. um, but we see fall, and that's kind of the end of the movie. And it's cool. You hear that riff of that dun, 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 it's like Queen Latifah rapping. They sampled that. It's cool. That
Yeah.
money song, that Apprentice song, which is perfect now when you think of Trump.
Hmm.
Trump is like Nino Brown. He's the white Nino Brown. you know, um, if you
Yeah.
see what's going on nowadays, it's the perfect end theme with that. And it's cool how we see this writing at the end, basically says, oh, this is a fictional story, but, it's a composite, like New York Magazine does. But, trying to say, hey, this is a fictional story, but this is happening all over the country,
Hmm.
the movie really had a message, and I think it was really trying to say that they need to make some systemic change with drugs.
Right.
The war on drugs wasn't working. They were just kind of throwing black people in jail, and they thought that solves the problem. Just throw them all in jail. Where it's really like they had to get to the root cause, and they had to make systemic changes for to get through that. And obviously there's still drugs are still a problem now. Drugs just evolve, but the problem just stays the same.
Yeah.
So it's cool that this movie really did have a message. And anything I missed that you wanted to talk about, like as far as scenes or anything?
Go. I don't know. There's a lot of great scenes in it. There's a lot of great shootouts, assassinations.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at it, this was '91, and it almost kicked off like the '90s were the era of like the hood movie, quote unquote. That's what people, looking back now, they say '90s hood movie because these were very common at the time. You don't really
Yeah.
see them much after that, or they evolved into something else. Because if you look at it, so this is '91. Boys in the Hood came out the same year.
Yeah.
Juice came out in '92. Menace to Society came out in '93. And eventually the Wayans brothers did their parody, that "Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood." Like,
That was a good one.
it was hilarious. Yeah. But what's funny is that they couldn't fit New Jack City into that title. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
almost like it was a hood movie, but it wasn't. Like it wasn't a cliche hood movie like maybe those other ones kind of were. This was like a little bit different, like in the fact that it was seriously trying to tackle the drug thing, and
Right.
also being in New York, showing the New York mafia almost type of lifestyle,
Organized
instead of like
crime kind of
West
thing.
Coast, yeah, instead of like West Coast gangs, that you see in Boys in the Hood. Um, so yeah, it was like kind of a hood movie. It kind of kicked off the hood movie thing, but it kind of wasn't a hood movie, similar to. So that's kind of ironic because Van Peebles, Mario Van Peebles, his dad is Melvin Van Peebles, and he was also a filmmaker and an artist. They both have very interesting lives. Him and his dad, really random, a lot of like kind of vagabond traveling artist type of dudes. And what's funny is one of the movies that his father made, Melvin Van Peebles, he directed that Sweetback's Badass Song. Did you ever see that?
Mm.
So that was like maybe 72 or 73 or something like that. And people credit that with starting like the blaxploitation genre, kind of, even though people say that it wasn't really a blaxploitation movie. It's so similar to New Jack City, his son directing this. It kicked off the hood movie thing, even though it really wasn't a hood movie when you kind of look at it. It was really a drug, gang movie, gangster movie, mafia type of movie. But I don't know a lot about Peebles and his family, but in the limited research I saw, like I said, I know his father. He was kind of a weird dude. Like he started off. He was smart. He went to college. I think he studied economics. His dad, but then he like joined the military, and then he randomly moved to like the Netherlands, and then um, he made a movie there while he was in the Netherlands. So his name was Melvin Peebles, but because he lived in the Netherlands, he put the Van as like a tribute to the Dutch people. He changed his name to Melvin Van Peebles.
Oh,
Um, so he made some movies there. He did like a lot of theater and kind of random stuff. He's a musician too, and he did all kinds of weird hippy dippy stuff. And he married this German chick, and she was an actress. She was like in that SS women, werewolf women of the SS or whatever. She was in that movie.
classic.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of good nudity in that. So he married one of the chicks from there, and I guess he was living in Mexico City at the time. So that's where Mario Van Peebles was born. He was actually born in Mexico City, which is weird. I never knew that until I just recently did the research here. And then also, I didn't realize how old he was either, because like he looked pretty young in this movie, um, but he's actually he was born 57,
Mm.
so that makes him older than Madonna, Prince, and Michael, who are all from 58. And I mentioned that because 58 is like an iconic year because those three were, those three 80s icons were, born that year. So yeah, I didn't know all that. Some little bit of trivia I found. So I guess Tupac auditioned for the role of G Money, but he was turned down due to the fact that he looked younger than Wesley Snipes.
Mm.
So, but I guess Tupac, he would later do Juice, obviously, and his character was kind of similar to Nino. So it was almost like he kind of played Nino a little bit in a different movie. Supposedly, Judd Nelson, on his first day of work, the film's security guards, who were from the Nation of Islam, wouldn't let him on the set. So Nelson had to find a payphone and call the production office to be allowed in. I think they were just like, "Hey, who the hell is this Jewish guy? Like, we can't let him in. We can't let him on set." And I guess Chris Rock. So Chris Rock was on Inside the Actor Studio one time with James Lipton, and that was a great show, by the way. I used to watch that all the time. Rest in peace, James Lipton. And Chris Rock claimed that for several years following his acclaimed performance as the crack addict Pookie, drug dealers would approach him and put crack and cocaine in his pocket. And they were, yeah, so that's what he said. And he said that, he's like, oh, I thought it was a documentary. He said that drug dealers would tell him that. Yeah, I don't really get that. But, and he also said that although he knew people who used crack at the time, he never did it. And in his 97 memoir that he wrote called Rock This, he said he's only smoked marijuana twice in his life. So, Mario Van Peebles, he was coming up as an actor, and he formed a kind of a good relationship with Clint Eastwood because he was in the movie Heartbreak Ridge with Clint. So Van Peebles, he was trying to shop the screenplay of New Jack City. He was trying to sell it to Warner Brothers, and they were like interested, but they were like, kind of too black, kind of too hood, But I guess him throwing Eastwood's name in it, he's like, hey, I'm homies with Eastwood, and they're like, all right, like you're homies with Eastwood, then hell yeah, here you go. Like, I guess Eastwood personally vouched for Van Peebles, and they were like, hey, give the kid a shot, like let him direct, and so. Yeah, they gave him a shot, and that launched his directing career. I mean, he hasn't really directed that many movies, but I feel like he did a really good job on this movie as far as direction. He kind of killed it. And kind of tying back to Rush Hour, I remember watching one of the commentaries of Rush Hour, and Brett Ratner was saying how he saw New Jack City in New York, because he's from Miami, but he went to NYU film school, and he's into hip hop and all that stuff. So when he saw New Jack City was going to come out, he went to like opening night of New Jack City, and he's in the crowd. And then he said on the commentary that like all of a sudden gunshots started ringing out in the theater, and he's like, "Oh shit! Like this is crazy." He's like, "Okay, I guess I'm in New York now. Welcome to New York. That's how they watch movies here." So yeah. So anything else you want to add about this classic film?
Gotta watch it. You gotta see it for yourself. Immerse yourself in the culture and the times. Travel far back to the days of yore. Yes.
Good job selling this, Chris.
I think that was on the VHS sleeve.
Oh, okay.
Back to the days of yore.
Days of Yore with Wesley Snipes. Okay. So that was New Jackass City. Briterion Bollection.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Chris. It's always a pleasure having you on here.
Baby.
There you go. Peace out. Later. Bye.